We're very excited to chat about the state of staking today. We have a panel full of the experts in our industry about staking. I'm Dylan Olivia Hunziker. I'm the founder of a company called Apparatus. But today what we're going to do is host a lively discussion and potentially a lively debate about certain aspects of the staking business and industry in crypto as a whole. And specifically within the Ethereum ecosystem, but potentially more broadly as well. Okay, we're going to have each attendee and speaker introduce themselves. Yep.
I'm Raul. I'm one of the co-founders of Diva Staking Protocol. We are a liquid staking protocol based on DBT, and we should be hitting mainnet in 1.5 months or so. We are now going through the audits of our smart contracts and actually the whole architecture. And yeah, basically it's that. Liquid staking protocol based on DBT, our own solution. And yep, that is pretty much it.
Hi everybody, I'm Darren Langley. I'm from Rocket Pool. I'm the general manager of the core team. Rocket Pool is a decentralized liquid staking protocol. We're actually the second largest liquid staking protocol, just behind Lido. And we've been around for a long time in the staking space. We have a liquid staking token called rETH, and we also allow people to do node staking as well, kind of permissionlessly from on the other side. So to kind of match that. Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Hi everyone, I'm Kenan Besic from Chain Security. So what we do is basically we audit smart contracts. We're here for the security. We're trying to contribute to the ecosystem by reviewing smart contracts. And yeah, we have some experience also with liquid staking. We have reviewed protocols. So yeah, that's about it.
Hi, I'm Freddy. I'm the Ethereum ecosystem lead at BlockDemon. And BlockDemon is an institutional Web3 service provider. We cover a wide range of products for our institutional customers, which is staking. We have an institutional wallet. We provide data in RPC. And really our institutional customers range from TradFi banks to foundations and more Web3 native kind of entities. And yeah, happy to discuss it all with you.
Yep, so the first question that I want to ask is what everyone has been talking about actually at this conference, and I want to talk about the launch of EigenLayer, and I want to talk about restaking and what some critiques potentially are, but then also what are some benefits and what EigenLayer's launch actually does both to the staking industry as a whole, but then also how it fares for your businesses, and just kind of a deep dive into that part of the ecosystem.
Well, regarding EigenLayer, I mean, my point of view here is, okay, is on the positive side, it is an innovation. Most probably, everyone within the ecosystem will end up integrating somehow with EigenLayer in one way or the other. But on the other hand, we've been asking for the whole industry for such a long time to diversify and to offer different solutions. And now we are finding ourselves colluding within one single protocol, which is at the end EigenLayer. Yes, because it offers a higher APR at the expense of actually potentially posing a higher risk for the whole Ethereum ecosystem at large. And my main take when I'm looking at EigenLayer is why we were all kind of fighting against Lido because it was a centralization power, and now everybody's kind of extremely happy to be fully dependent on one single protocol, which at the end of the day, I just know what I've read under docs, but as far as I'm aware of, everything is upgradable by a committee. They are launching under a BSL license, which is totally fine, but that implies that they are thinking more on a business model case, not in making some kind of public good or something like that, which again is totally fine. But I think my perception of the kind of the whole community at large is like we are extremely aggressive and confrontational towards Lido, and we have taken kind of the stance along with the guys of Rocket Pool and other people like, okay, we have to make a diversified industry, and when EigenLayer is kind of, everybody is extremely happy just to have, by having one single actor kind of controlling the whole risk and the whole risk taking ecosystem, becoming a potential centralization factor, and actually adding an increased risk within the whole Ethereum network. So yes, I mean, I think it being something positive because it has kind of drawn all the attention against to the staking ecosystem, and actually has created its own ecosystem, which is really staking ecosystem, and we all will benefit one way or the other. But on the other hand, I think it will be kind of treated by the same standards as the rest of the industry.
So from our perspective, the decision isn't up to me because we're a decentralized protocol, so it's actually up to our 3,500 node operators to decide what we do with EigenLayer. From the kind of chat within the community, people are optimistically cautious, I would say, is the best way of putting it. On the positive side of things, our node operators are in a good position to benefit from EigenLayer. They're also kind of a permissionless set as well, so on the flip side, we're actually really good for EigenLayer as well. So there's a lot of value on that side of things. We do also see the value of expanding out Ethereum's trust network to be able to be used in other applications and expanding the ecosystem to create more decentralized products and services and applications. I think on the downside, there are a lot of open questions that we haven't really gotten answers to. We had an AMA with EigenLayer a little while ago, and we're in constant talking to EigenLayer, but there's some open questions that still need to be addressed. It's also the fact that they haven't necessarily launched yet, and we're already seeing protocols built on top of EigenLayer sounding like they are launched.
Right, right.
When they're not.
Which is confusing.
Yeah, that's very confusing for the market. So that element of it is not necessarily good. So from our perspective, we are probably going to wait and see. There's nothing for us to integrate into at this point in time anyway. We will kind of like cautiously see how things are going, and we'll evaluate as we go. There's definitely some interest within the community. We've got proposals within the community to integrate EigenLayer, and we will kind of like evaluate, the community as a whole will evaluate that and kind of like take it forward. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of things to think about.
So yeah, I agree mostly with the others, what the others said. So EigenLayer, from the discussions I had so far at the conference, people are curious about it. So there's a reason there is a discussion. It's an interesting project, it's innovative, but it poses some risks which I believe need to be addressed in the discussion. For example, validators take on more tasks. What impact does it have on the validator software, right? There is some extra tasks, it requires extra time. What effect does it have on consensus, right? So I'm quite curious about EigenLayer. It offers cool opportunities like extra yield or bootstrapping basically this security aspect with existing liquid staking tokens that we restake, and it offers cool opportunities, but I believe, as you said, that there needs to be a discussion maybe also with other protocols to figure out or do research together to get to a good state. And of course, it's an additional component which offers, again, smart contract risks, and then protocols that build an EigenLayer that is not yet deployed. And then there is, again, smart contract risk, and you use smart contracts. So there's quite a lot of things involved that could break. And yeah, from the security perspective, it's super interesting, but also dangerous in that sense, but interesting.
Yeah, so we at Blockdaemon, we're super excited about EigenLayer and the innovation it's unlocking or will unlock. I mean, we do see a lot of interest, obviously, but yeah, it is early days. Like in any, staking protocol, it reminds me of some of those, L1 wars or starting to launch everywhere and nobody knows what it can do, how secure it is, how long it's gonna live. And so this is still early. For us, the most exciting part is to work with AVSs because, they're gonna need infrastructure, and that's what Blockdaemon is all about, obviously. And also, I think there's those implications that you mentioned for stakers, and then what does it mean? Like, do they understand the risks? How transparent do we need to make that risk? For example, we're currently sort of integrating Eigenlayer in our staking flow, but that would, basically mean that the customers can, with one click, stake on ETH, restake into Eigenlayer, and delegate to Blockdaemon running those AVSs for them as a node operator, which obviously from the UX perspective, which everyone is also talking, that's like the second biggest topic I think this year on this conference. But so that's great UX, but abstracting this away, those decisions away from the user is always sort of a trade-off in terms of security or in terms of even regulatory questions and things like that. So that's something that we're very actively monitoring. But in terms of what Raul said is, I think it actually could provide a thing with this additional innovation to, for example, mitigate some of those Lido risks, right? Because if, for example, like Puffer seems to be super successful in their vampire attack on Lido, if people really switch over from staked ETH to Puffer ETH, that would, sort of reduce that risk. And that, in that sense, I think, because Eigenlayer opens up the whole ecosystem to more innovation and more things, that's why I would agree with you that, that it's like optimistically positive, like what do you say, cautiously optimistic. I think I like that. So that I think sums it up pretty good.
Yeah.
So what are each of you most excited about with your businesses?
Come again? What?
What are you excited about this year, but what is the biggest risk to staking as a whole as well?
Well, I mean, within the whole staking thing, we've seen a ton of innovation, as Freddy was mentioning. I mean, all the new integrations with Eigenlayer, I mean, and with the whole staking ecosystem, it's bringing a ton of innovation to the whole ecosystem. Actually, it's been extremely competitive, and people are innovating one side or the other. Also, I think this year is a kind of the confirmation that the staking has become one of the key factors or key drivers within the Ethereum ecosystem or the blockchain ecosystem at large. And yeah, I mean, what actually is kind of making me really excited about the whole staking ecosystem this year is that everybody now knows about staking. Now it was like, it was used kind of a last recourse for cautious investors. Like, okay, I don't want to go really crazy into DeFi and to, I don't know, double down with derivatives trading protocol. So I'm going to save some part of my capital within a staking. And now staking has evolved that much that that same investor doesn't really need to go to the other DeFi area or whatever, and just can keep the capital within the staking ecosystem. Which at the end of the day is really good, because staking is no more than securing the Ethereum network. Right. So actually we're bringing along more capital to infrastructure.
So it sounds like you're also describing a situation where your users are changing or growing, and you're going from one user base to another, or it's broadly kind of being accepted.
Everybody they are like my sons. They are becoming more mature,
right.
I will say.
Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that point. With the conversations that we've been having have been very, very different to like a year ago. The kind of players that are entering the market are much larger. You still got kind of home stakers and all that sort of stuff kind of going on, which is fantastic. That's what Rocket Pool kind of supports. But then you've got kind of like larger players coming in as well. People like crypto hedge funds and institutions and that sort of thing are talking about staking quite regularly now. So that kind of like demand side is definitely there. In terms of the exciting thing that I'm interested in is like on the innovation side. So Ethereum's roadmap has some interesting features coming that make decentralized staking protocols much more efficient, much more able to scale. So we're really interested and excited about that, and that we'll be using that in our kind of like roadmap to make sure that we can scale. And being a decentralized platform, we need node operators to actually spin up these validators. So that's always been a bottleneck for us, but with these new features and that sort of thing, and putting those to good use within our protocol, we can actually scale and compete with centralized providers.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, as of course, the innovation brings more smart contracts, which I'm excited about. So that's obviously something, new approaches, like we have different kinds of protocols with different trust models, with different guarantees, with different smart contracts. So it's quite exciting in that scene. But let me think. I'm quite excited also about the upgrades, the network upgrades. For example, EIP 4788 introduces that you have the beacon block route, so you reduce trust in that sense, which is kind of cool. So I'm excited about the changes that we're or modifications that we're introducing to the protocol, so that we can create more trust to the end users, or that protocols can actually create a better trust model, because oracles, of course, often have failures or can be malicious or whatever. So I'm looking forward to that mostly, to reduce the trust assumptions or minimize the risk in that involved. Yeah.
Right, and I think what I'm excited about is that we see those improvements, and it's sort of basically maturing the base layer staking and making better, less stress assumptions for liquid staking protocols, or execution layer withdrawals, those kind of things, just that make life easier, both for us staking providers, but also our customers, the ultimate stakers. And yes, I echo that we obviously see a lot of institutions coming in here, and that's I think overall a great thing, because it also helps mature in that sense. I mean, there's probably there's two sides of a coin with any topic, I guess, but so that's exciting to us in the maturity sense. But then we also see those innovations, like let's say restaking or DVT or other things that are sort of push the boundaries, and that excites me in terms of, like, I thought sort of after Chapella, like everything is done in ETH staking, right? Because all the fundamentals are there. But I guess now I'm seeing this more as that was sort of the base stuff, and now we're moving one layer on top. And then we're having LRTs instead of LSTs, and we have restaking instead of staking, and we're going to have the L2s, and which also excites me, because it's all interconnected, right? We see those, like with restaking, and then using this security for pre-confirmations, and that would enable maybe like based rollups or Ethereum sequencing or whatever it's called these days, right? And that's sort of another whole layer where we're going to see a lot of them probably accepting staking or getting security through restaking. Either way, there's going to be a lot more new protocols out there which need infra, which is great, and probably a lot of them also going to open up to staking, at least in the midterm. But that being said, because it's early, because that sort of reminds me back a few years when we saw all these other things, and we're going to see all those security questions. Is this going to work? Are consumers really understanding what they're getting into? So yeah, it's both more maturity and the crazy innovation stuff, which probably will be fueling the bull market even more, right?
What are some explicit benefits versus risks of DVT? I know you were touching on them, but I want to get extremely specific.
So we're big fans of DVT because it eliminates the central point of failure, basically, in terms of the keys. That's great. But I mean, I guess particularly in the Ethereum space, we're always looking for decentralization amongst a lot of different dimensions. And DVT could be like not as diversified as we wish to be, much like what Raul said with the restaking thing. If that's just one entity doing restaking, then that is obviously a centralization if it attracts a lot of capital, which to be seen, I would say. Once the airdrop is done, maybe the capital goes away somewhere else. But but the same with DVT, right? Like all those DVT protocols, at least we have a couple, which is great. But if they, for example, have only one client or one implementation, then we're losing this client diversity that we're, finally, well, hopefully getting closer to on the Ethereum layer 1. So it feels, again, on that side, we will have to fight all those fights, or not fights, but all these discussions and innovations and work that has been going into that will have to come out on all these innovations that are building on top of the L1.
Do you have
From our perspective, there are kind of like two ways we could use DVT. Well, sorry, three ways. The first way is to help our node operators with kind of like making their setup more robust. So that's kind of one way. Although DVT is quite heavyweight for that particular purpose. There are other solutions that are probably a little bit more lightweight. Then the other thing is kind of squad staking, which is a group of friends or group of people that actually know each other that form a DVT kind of cluster together, and then they operate rocket pool mini pools via that process. And then the third way is actually integrating within the protocol itself. That last one is, we've kind of evaluated it and we've thrown that out almost for a couple of reasons. First reason, the main reason is that it's very, very difficult to apply DVT to a permissionless model. So if you've got people you don't know sharing the same kind of like DVT cluster, that's very, very difficult to do with DVT in a safe way. So we kind of decided not to go that approach because it complicates things. But at the same time, we're looking at using DVT for that squad staking use case, because that way, you can definitely get some advantages from that. But yeah, from a protocol perspective, we decided not to do that to reduce our collateral requirement. We've done it in a different way, to be able to kind of like get that benefit for us.
Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, maybe. I agree very much with the computation heaviness. It takes, again, time. It's similar discussion to the eigenlayer points I brought up. It's, again, another component, right, where you have to spend computation time, which can be always dangerous. And I also agree with the decentralization part. And yeah, regarding diversity, it can also be interesting. Like, you can split up your validator on multiple like continents. It ensures liveness. It ensures like safety from, I don't know, natural disasters or I don't know, weird politics where you get rocked by the government. So I find DVT quite interesting, and I also enjoy the approach that not everybody needs to start using every new fancy thing, right? Like, it's also part of diversity where people decide to go different ways, and that's why I appreciate actually having multiple also liquid staking protocols that offer different things. And then you as an end user, if you're interested, if the description is somewhat understandable, you can decide for yourself. So that's maybe my take.
I will just add that I pretty much love the way that you guys are approaching kind of the whole thing in case of rocket pool, because at the end of the day, we have considered kind of the same problems or the same issues. We are approaching them from a different point of view with different solutions. And at the end of the day, that hopefully that will provide the whole network kind of a more resilient infrastructure, which is at the end of the day what I think everybody wants. So I pretty much love that. Okay, we have evaluated this was kind of too complicated to be kind of fully integrated within the whole rocket pool protocol itself. So we decided, okay, we are kind of adapting on our own way, because I think that is kind of the best approach, because you are doing kind of your stuff and on a better way. We are doing our own. We are taking a higher risk, maybe kind of doing things a little bit more complicated. But at the end of the day, everything goes towards the benefit to the Ethereum protocol, which is fine at the day. Yeah. And on the other hand, it also speaks to the benefit of this layer one of infrastructure, of a second infrastructure. And it speaks a little bit against having just one single actor, as I mentioned before, in terms of a layer. Kind of controlling the layer 2 over the second side. So please, if everybody's building another eigen layer, let me know. Let us know, because we're really looking forward to it.
Okay, I have to confess something, Raul. I know the other firms, but I don't know Diva very well. And so could we talk a little bit about like just high level how it's differentiated from the other providers on stage? And I know we've been touching on it the whole time, but I just want to make sure that you get that message out.
Sure. Well, first, thanks
You
a
haven't
lot
quite
for that.
launched
Yes,
yet.
of course. I mean,
Yeah.
you haven't heard about us that much, so you don't know about us that much. First, because we are not live, so
Right.
it makes sense.
Oh, you could give some points to people, right?
Actually, we were too old-fashioned because we didn't go for points, and we just use old-fashioned tokens.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
kind of, we weren't that creative, I guess. And I mean, in terms of Diva, the main difference is that we did exactly what they discarded. I mean, we kind of integrated the DBT. We have developed our own DBT infrastructure, and is I believe, the first vertically integrated DBT liquidity staking protocol. There is the main core difference. There is no way to interact with Diva without using DBT. So that makes a way more permissionless network. At the end of the day, I always like to speak about Diva like a network validation. And yes, that is kind of the main difference. The main thing that we are bringing to the market. Like, our main goal is to, everybody's kind of focusing on the staking side. How can we increase the APR to the stakers? How can we attract more stakers? Our main goal was to make validation extremely easy, so everybody kind of become a validator without needing that much of resources, in terms of resources, of economic resources and of computational resources. So that was kind of a little bit our core value proposition.
Great. Okay, so now I want to kind of throw it back to everyone. What do you see as the biggest challenge to your respective businesses, not to the industry as a whole? But I know that each of you are going to have very different answers because there's definitely different critiques of each of your businesses, but yeah.
Freddy, you go first.
Okay, so the biggest challenge for us, I guess, will be deciding which of those new chains to support. Like, you know, we have L2s, we have L3s,
Right.
we have AVSs, we have...
So that was actually going to be part of my question is, obviously Ethereum comes first and is king. Obviously we're at ETHDenver, but what other protocols would you prioritize as well in the following kind of calendar year? Yeah.
To be seen, actually. I mean, we're multi-protocol. We're already supporting 60 different protocols, right? But, you know, I would just take a wild guess. There's going to be 100 protocols launching this year.
Oh, for sure.
So, you know, which one can we support and which one do we want to support, and which of them are serious and will gain traction, and maybe even the non-serious one will gain traction because they have a great meme or something, right? So for us, that is, you know, a challenge in terms of, you know, setting this all up and running it as reliable as we do with all our other protocols. So that's like one challenge. And then the other part is those integrations. Just like, you know, Raul said, they went for full integration of liquid staking with DBT. And I think that's great because it, like, all those innovations allow for new innovations and more, you know, everyone finds its niche and its own approach to certain things. And I think that, you know, let's say different approaches is what makes the whole ecosystem more resilient.
Right.
And gives everyone, and it's like of any industry that is maturing, you know, I think it's a healthy sign because in all major developed industries, we see those specialization of labors, very specific positioning for various players. There's always various players for each different topic or something. And so in that sense, I'm very bullish about it. And, you know, those questions that we face in terms of what to support and how integrated do we want to see this is a luxury problem, right? Because we're not talking about Ethereum killers anymore. It's all happening on Ethereum, basically. So that's great.
Yeah, for us, we're not building, right? Like, we're not the builders, so we don't face those challenges. We're not providing the infrastructure, so we're not facing those challenges. But for us, I would say the challenges are also related to multi-chain, right? Like, there's different mechanisms, there's different protocols on different chains. They have to adapt to the chain. So this overhead, of course, of information, you have to process that always whenever you review something. And then you have those protocols, right? Like Diva, for example, which integrate then also with the clients. And there you have additional components which are now maybe not smart contracts, right? And then you have to familiarize yourself with other things. And I would say that's the biggest challenge, is difference in approaches, not be biased by some other protocol. And yeah, the experience we have is that it typically works, but it's always this learning curve you have in working, right?
For us, in terms of challenges, we've got a huge demand for RETH, which is our liquid staking token, and we need to kind of like satisfy that demand with supply for node operators. So it's kind of how we scale our protocol to take on, to be able to essentially mint more RETH and stake more, and kind of stay decentralized and kind of safe and all that sort of thing. We've got 2 major releases coming up in the next kind of year and a half that kind of address these problems. So it's going to be a really exciting year for us to kind of be able to address those and scale kind of much larger, up to the point where we've said that we will stop. And so yeah, that's going to be fantastic for us. Houston and Saturn are the 2 releases that we're releasing. In terms of what chains we support, our liquid staking token can be on any chain, and it operates the same way. So it doesn't really matter what chains we support from a liquid staking perspective. But ultimately, we choose L2s because they build off of Ethereum. We like that security model, and so that's why we've kind of like chosen that, particularly roll-ups. We prefer that security model, so the community tends to favor those. Us as a team, in terms of staking on other chains and that sort of thing, we are an Ethereum-based team, really.
Right.
We are a very, very small team, so we don't have the capacity, really, to go into other chains. And to be honest, the engineering uplift to go into other chains just isn't economically, and to the amount of economic gain that we would get out of it is much less. So Ethereum is much larger from an economic perspective, and so the engineering effort isn't worth it for us. That's us.
Well, our biggest challenge, obviously, is getting this thing to mainnet first. And no, I mean, and after that, I think the whole ecosystem, I will say, kind of the biggest challenge, not just for us, but for all of us. I mean, Rocket Pool and any actor, any layer 1 of a staking is kind of get away a little bit of the noise that the liquid staking is making, and focus on making something really solid and technically viable. In terms of other chains, and from the liquid staking side, pretty much the same as Rocket Pool. We are integrating with other chains on the liquid staking side, attracting value from other chains. We have really good contacts with the guys of Base and Polygon Zero Knowledge, CKVM, sorry. And but we are also speaking with the guys of Scroll and with especially, I mean, L2s, keeping an eye on the rollups, of course. And yeah, but as from the validation point of view, we are really Ethereum focused, and I think it's exactly the same. And the demand of engineering capacity that you need just to be alive and to keep pace with Ethereum, it makes you, I mean, it's, at least in our case, it's impossible to reach out to other chains in the short term, at least.
Okay, so we have less than a minute left. If anyone has any closing remarks, I just want to thank all of our amazing speakers, but if anyone has one last thing before, one last plug, everyone plug what they're doing again.
Once again, if somebody is building I mean, how can I frame it? Uniswap needed SushiSwap somehow, Lido needed Rocket Pool, EigenLayer needs someone. So if you are building it, please let me know.
So in terms of the Rocket Pool stuff, so the community are going through this big research phase for the next next year. They're actually laying out our roadmap and discussing our roadmap and coming up with new ideas, incubating ideas. So now is a really great time to be a part of the Rocket Pool community and contribute to the future of Rocket Pool.
Okay, I have like 3 seconds. Yeah, keep building. I'm curious about your projects. I want to learn about them. It's super fun, and yeah, enjoy building.
I would hope that we see some new use cases that are bringing mainstream adoption, because I feel we see all those chains, all those restaking, all those innovations. We're going to have a lot of empty blob space, whatever. Because I mean, all this great infrastructure and innovation, it's all like self-referencing, and we need to make a difference in the world, basically. And for that, we need some more use cases. So that's
Totally
what I'm
agree.
keeping my fingers crossed this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.